Hmm. All right. Frequent Miler, we're live on YouTube. We are Nicholas this week.
Nick is Nicholas, but we are Nicholas.
We are Nicholas, right?
Not to be confused with Nicholas.
So Nick is on a cruise, one of the 76 free cruises he's taken so far, something like that.
Yeah.
Is that about it?
76, somewhere in that neighborhood.
So just before, okay, there we go. I was just about to say the thing wasn't showing up on YouTube, but it is there now. So normally it's pretty quick, but cool, we are live.
Oh yeah, it showed up for me right away. So who knows?
But so what is, Stephen, what do you think of now that you're in Greg's home state of Michigan? What do you think? What's your opinion? What's your opinion of the frequent milers on stomping grounds? Smoky?
The UK itself, I don't know, maybe it was all the smoke that we had up there when we were there. It wasn't quite as amazing as I thought that it was going to be, based on how like everyone loves it so much. But we were up in like, I'm going to say Houghton, but apparently Michiganders pronounce it differently, like Hooten or something like that. And it was nice enough and stuff, but so many mosquitoes around. It was just really unpleasant. Tried to go out to go see some waterfalls, go do some hiking. In the end, like I got out the car, like complete swarm of mosquitoes all around, and had to get back in. But then when we were driving down to Traverse City, along Lake Superior, they had this absolutely beautiful roadside park and stuff like that. So that was much better by the time we got there. And Traverse City seems like a really cool city. I actually really like it here. So if it wasn't so cold in the winter, it might be somewhere that we'd look to settle for a little bit after the road trip.
Oh, wow.
Nice.
It's kind of like a big enough city where you have everything that you might want in terms of like stores and amenities and things like that. Right. On the lake, which makes it really nice. Good weather in the summer and things like that. But yeah, I imagine winters can be kind of brutal here, like being right next to the water.
Oh, I can't imagine. It's brutal enough up in Greg, down where Greg lives, but geez, holy moly.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to live. Well, actually, I wouldn't even want to live down here in Ann Arbor in the wintertime. Yet I do, but let alone up in Traverse City.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Too bad, because that's where you live. So I'm going to feed you a question while I shoot the link over to social media. First, let's address the question about whether or not we're speaking at Chicago seminars. Can you guys talk on that a second?
Sure. So, none of us are able to make it to the Chicago seminars this year, which helps avoid having to make a decision, because this year there's really weird thing going on. Which I guess I should back up. Chicago seminars are an annual event that are, it's basically a frequent flyer set of seminars that's in Chicago every October. It's been going on for a long time, over 10 years, I think, probably 14, 15 years, something like that. And this year, there was a weird split that happened, I think accidentally, but we don't really know what the background is on what happened. But there are two Chicago seminars happening on the same weekend. And so people who are signed up need to decide which one they want to go to. And unfortunately, there's no way. I don't know of any good way to give advice about which one to go to. They have different speakers. So I guess if there's certain speakers you're looking forward to, you could look for one or the other. But just, we did want to let everyone know that no one on the Frequent Miler team is going to be able to make it this year. So if you're hoping to see us, look for other events in the future, but not that this year.
Yep.
All right. I think that covers that. So I'm going to feed the first real question since that was just mine. Question one, from your Party of Five trip, what is something new you learned about each other?
Let's start with Nick. What did we learn? What did we learn about Nick?
Well, we learned the many strange things he doesn't like to eat.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And that he can survive on like 3 or 4 hours of sleep every night and still be human.
Oh my gosh.
I kind of knew that, or he had talked about how he never sleeps. So I feel like I knew that a little bit, but definitely I didn't know. He would resent the term picky eater, I think, but
Oh my gosh.
I didn't know how many things he doesn't like to eat.
Yeah. Well, he's such a strange combination of a 5-year-old eater and an adventurous eater. Like,
Oh.
so he'll go out and eat like the craziest things in Vietnam or wherever, but give him a scrambled egg or marshmallow or he's just there's like many common things that he just
those are real examples too. That's not even a pretend example. That's a real one.
Yeah.
And I think the funniest thing we learned about him is that so he doesn't like eggs and he doesn't like fish, but he does like caviar. So so he likes he likes
eggs.
He likes unborn fish, but not unborn chickens. So, yeah.
Yeah, it was. And what I thought was, what I think is funny is we already have sort of a running thing with Nick where most movies that the vast majority of the population likes, Nick doesn't. And it's really bizarre the ones he doesn't like. And this was sort of the flip version of that with food. And he always has a thing where you say, "Oh yeah, how about those eggs?" Or love this thing, and well, but is it good?
That's true.
True.
So yeah, that was to me one of the most surprising things is just to see all the stuff Nick doesn't like. It's crazy.
Yes, I think agreed.
What crazy thing does Nick not like this week?
Yeah.
Right.
What did we learn about Stephen?
I learned some new British swear words.
I learned how to swear better.
He thought he lost his wallet at one moment. Anyway, I learned some British swear words that I guess I won't repeat. But do you guys shall we dive into this question a little more or go on to our next one?
If we can go on to the next one.
Let's go on. Yeah.
Cool.
It's more just an excuse to talk about Nick when he's not here.
So thank you, questioner, for that opportunity.
Thank you, questioner.
What trip are you most excited for in the next 1 to 2 months? I'm gonna shoot that question over to Greg. We'll start with Greg.
I'm looking forward to going to Denmark. Yeah, I've never been there before, but we're going on a whole food tour around Denmark and can't wait.
Ooh, nice. Well,
that's one of those trolls over there, like Thomas Dambo trolls.
Oh, yeah, that'd be cool.
Go down the line. So Tim, how about you?
Well, I have the fun one is on Sunday we leave for Austria for a couple weeks.
Ah, nice.
And I've never been to Austria before. But I just dipped into Austria, but never really explored it in with gusto. And I'm really looking forward to it. We're going to spend about half of the time hiking and then half of the time in cities, and it should be a really good time. And we're also going to see Bruce Springsteen in Vienna, which will be kind of fun.
What?
Oh, wow. That's cool.
Yeah, no, I know. He just happened to be there. And getting Bruce Springsteen tickets in Europe is about half the cost of getting them, well, maybe even less than getting them in the US. So
nice.
We're gonna take the opportunity. I mean, isn't that what everybody does in Vienna? You go see American rock shows.
Well, actually, that's a good.
Everybody segue. I know. Everybody know who's going to Vienna this July. Yeah.
So yeah, everybody knows doing it.
This is a good segue to Stephen. What trip are you excited about next? Maybe it won't be the one that I'm.
Well, yeah, I mean, we're not going to be going overseas or anything like that. We're in Michigan through the end of this month, and then we're doing New York State. So I think in terms of Michigan, Grand Rapids, I'm looking forward to because we're going to stay downtown. So they can explore a lot of the breweries without having to worry about driving. In New York, we got an Airbnb in the Finger Lakes region where we're going to be for a couple of weeks. So that'll be pretty nice checking that area out. And then in September, my parents are coming to join us on the road trip for a month. And so we're going to be doing New England with them. So we're doing Maine for 3 weeks and then Vermont for a week and then Boston for a day on either side of their trip as well. So that should be cool.
But you have a concert coming up too, right?
Yes, towards the end of October. Yeah, it's like a day or two after they go home. Then I've got to switch for a concert in Connecticut that I'm going to.
Nice. All of your summers are more exciting than mine. So have anything planned yet, or I would share it. I'm going to move us along to the next question. This one, I'm going to give it to whoever thinks they can sub for Nick on the free cruise topic. My wife was approved for the Wyndham Business card. If she matches to Caesar's Diamond, etc., and receives free cruise offers, will I be able to take our kids without her? She hates cruises. Does anyone know that?
I think
we as a team are sort of like emblematic of this family because Nick likes to go on cruises and nobody else does. So
I don't know the answer.
I mean, my assumption would be is that that offer would be to her account and would be in her name, and that so then she would have to be on the cruise, like on the actual itinerary for the cruise. And that would be my assumption.
That seems reasonable, right?
Yeah. Do you know, Stephen?
Ask Nick.
For some reason, I feel like Nick's addressed this at some point, either on the podcast or in a post or something like that, because I feel like the question may have been asked by someone else. And I feel like the answer was no, they can't, because they're the ones matching. I don't think they can book the cruise in someone else's name, but I'm not 100% sure of that. So, yeah, hopefully Nick can clarify that at some point. I imagine that he would know, but I'd guess not. But otherwise, hopefully people in the comments on YouTube will be able to confirm one way or the other, because I'm sure that someone will know.
Yeah.
True. Please let us know. All right. So this next one is also a good group answer. We'll start with Greg, though. You can force one airline to change which alliance they're part of. Which airline are you moving?
That's a really creative question.
Yeah.
I think I would move British Airways to Star Alliance so that I could book British Airways flights without fuel surcharges.
All right. How about you, Stephen?
I have no idea. Come back to me. I'll have a little think about this.
All right. Are you ready with something, Tim?
You know, this is kind of an oddball one, but I think it's pronounced Eva Air. I always call it Eva Air, but then I've been told that some people say Eva Air. But whatever. Regardless, I think that there's always tends to be a ton of availability for Eva Air from the West Coast to Asia whenever I want to go. But because the vast majority of my biggest stashes are involved with a couple of One World airlines. And so I'm not able to, I mean, I can access that, but I always have to transfer points and do stuff as opposed to using the miles I already have. So if I could do anything, I would probably move Eva Air to One World.
Okay, I'm gonna just basically ditto that, because that's a great point, because I have flown on them before and had an absolutely fantastic experience. So
Great.
yeah, being able to book with Advantage Miles or something like that would just be lovely. So yeah.
Yep.
All right, there we have it.
What about you, Carrie?
I have no idea. Pass.
Okay.
Instead, we will go next to a question which I think I'll give to Greg. Can Vacasa rentals be done with a combination of points and cash if the booking requires a minimum number of nights and you don't have enough points for all the nights?
Well, I don't know. I think the answer is no in the way they mean it, but I mean, you could always book some nights with points and book the other nights with cash separately. Whether you could do it all in one booking, I don't know, maybe.
I mean, and what I'd say there is, like, is it possible for you to buy the points with Wyndham if you haven't already maxed out your allowance for the year? Because, like, especially right now, I think they're still on sale for less than a cent per point. And so that would kind of I'm assuming that would be a better way to go, because I haven't really seen that many Vacasa properties that go for less than basically $150 a night. And so if you can buy the points at a reasonable price, that might be a way to top up so you've got enough.
That's a great point. And also what you can do if you have, let's say, two people who are going to be traveling together, you can book on one reservation, you can pull points from one person for some of the nights and from another person for some of the other nights. And so even if you're maxed out on how many Wyndham points you can buy, maybe your player two can buy points and do it that way. Because even at the normal price of, what is it, 1.3 cents or 1.35 or something like that, is the normal Wyndham price when it's not on sale. it can still be a good deal for Vacasa.
Yeah, 100%. Like I actually just did a Vacasa booking yesterday, and it was about $495 a night for a 1-bedroom place. So even if you bought those 15,000 points, you're effectively cutting the cash cost by 60%, if you can get something like that.
Yeah.
So depending on the property, even at 1.3 or 1.35 or whatever it is, it could actually be cheaper to buy the points than pay for it with cash.
I'm just loving, Tim, that you came in just under the cutoff where they would.
Oh yeah.
they won't let you book it if the average is more than $500 a night per room. So Tim just squeaked just under, maximizing the value of your points. That's great.
I guess that's the sweet spot, huh? Nice. We escalated that answer from an I don't know to some stuff. So very good. Next up, for everyone on the team, can you share what your preferred luggage brand or brands are? Anyone have any favorites?
This is a tough one for Greg, though.
This is a sore subject for Greg, who might be the only person who actually did have a favorite, right?
Tumi backpacks are too stealable, so I did love my Tumi backpack. I just don't have it currently, but as far as backpack goes, I love that. The Tumi luggage is fine. I mean, it rolls really nicely, but I don't particularly love it or hate it. It's just fine. Does anyone have a particular?
I mean,
whatever cheapest at Costco.
Yeah, we just kind of like whatever cheap luggage we've picked up over time, and like we don't have any of the name brand ones or anything like that. So I would definitely be a bit more careful in terms of what I select the next time I go for some kind of carry-on, because I've got like a Kenneth Cole carry-on hard shell one, and that's generally been perfectly fine up until now, but the wheels are a little bit goofy, and so it was annoying when we were on Party of Five, as we'd be trying to rush through the airport to like catch a flight. Like so many times it would just all of a sudden decide to not wheel along and things like that. And so it was much more noticeable on this trip, where we were doing a lot more traveling and wheeling about and things like that, because normally my wife and I, when we're like traveling, we don't do anywhere near that kind of like level of moving about and needing to transport things. So I'll definitely be a bit more careful, but I just can't see myself personally buying something that's like a proper brand name that's super expensive just because I'm cheap like that. So
I actually have a fairly strong opinion that there is no such thing as perfect luggage, and they all get annoying at some point, and you just shouldn't put too much thought into optimizing that, because it's going to be annoying.
And I will say, we've got like a case that we got at Walmart almost 20 years ago that we've used ever since, and it's still working. Like, we don't use that a whole ton, but yeah, we've had it in action for the last 20 years. It's made it across like moving to like different continents and things like that, and like in and out of hotels and things like that for the last 6 and a bit years, and it's still in one piece. So like, even just something, and that was only like 30 or 50 bucks or something back in the day. So like, cheap stuff can end up lasting a lot longer than you might expect versus the kind of $500 like Tumi bags or however much those cost. So
we don't want to think about how much they cost. In case anybody didn't follow on the recent annual challenge, Greg had a very nice Tumi backpack that his wife had given him as a present, and it had his initials on it. That unfortunately, I guess those initials are slang for "steal me" in Chile, because that's exactly what happened within about 10 minutes of getting outside the airport. So unfortunately, Greg's backpack is no longer with us.
My backpack's still enjoying Chile.
Yeah, your backpack became a permanent resident.
Did not come home. Interesting question, though. All right. So next up, what new partners, airlines, or hotels would you like major credit card companies to add to their respective programs? Anything come to mind?
American to Citi, or well, American to anyone really, but like the most likely partner would be Citi. So that would be nice.
Yeah, that's a good one. I think it'd be cool to see either Sonesta, or I would love to see some of there's quite a few hotel brands that I think don't have transfer partners right now. That aren't part of transferable currencies. Four Seasons, Sonesta are the two that immediately come to mind that have a lot of really cool properties, but there's no way to use transferable currencies for them. So those would be fun.
And I'd actually say Wyndham onto membership rewards, just because it's so easy to rack up membership rewards, and it seems a shame to like transfer them from like their two other partners. And so it'd be nice to be, and that wouldn't be a great redemption for membership rewards, but just based on the pure number of them that I have compared to other transferable currencies, then it would be nice to have that as an option as well, seeing as you can get pretty good value from Wyndham points booked with Vacasa.
Well, and remind me, you haven't been able to get the Wyndham Business card, right? Because
I do have the Wyndham Business card. Yeah.
Oh, you do? Okay.
Yeah, yeah. So I do have that, but so we've actually just been able to get my wife a Wyndham personal card, and so now she'll be able to get the 10% discount, because what's been annoying is that all of our, like most of our Wyndham points are effectively with Capital One at the moment, and so when we've needed to book things with her, then she hasn't got the 10% discount because I haven't got any Capital One cards, because they won't approve me for anything that will get me miles, basically, where I'll then be able to transfer them myself. So that's been a mini frustration. So that won't be an issue in the future.
Sadly, this person was especially interested in Nick's thoughts, so we can't give that.
Nick would probably like there to be more matching opportunities. That's all he really cares about. As long as he can get more casino matching opportunities for free cruise offers, that's really
maybe that's what this person had in mind, I bet.
Well, maybe that's what next week's podcast should be. Just like ask us anything, ask Nick anything. It's just him being asked every single question from the session,
right.
and just to see what he would have said.
Yes, too bad.
What was your answer on the last one, Greg? I'm just curious.
Oh, nothing particular popped to mind, so I don't know.
All right. This next person wants to know, do we have a basic tutorial for people trying to learn to book award flights? I can't wrap my head around how to book through partners.
I don't think we do. I mean,
any tips for how to start out with that?
You have those videos with Maisie though, don't you, Greg, that are posted somewhere? Where you
there's a couple of videos with Maisie.
Where you're actually
I don't know
how to use partner bookings.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that would be helpful. It's a pretty specific case, I guess. I'm not sure if it's necessarily step one, but I think once someone learns like the very basics, then maybe that would be a step two to see it in practice, something like that.
I thought it was useful because, well, I guess also our tools we use resource might be helpful for somebody starting out, like seats.aero. Isn't that what you start off with Maisie? That feels like kind of a hack for
seats.aero is very nerdy. Like you really have to know a lot to use that effectively. But for someone just getting started that doesn't really understand what's going on, I think PointMe, the tool point.me is probably a really good place to start, because it lets you just do very basic searches of like saying, I want to go from here to there. And when it finds things, it has tutorials built into it saying how to, let's say you have Chase points, how to transfer those Chase points to United or to Virgin Atlantic or to whoever it makes sense to for that booking. I'll tell you who you need to transfer it to and how to then make the booking. So I think that's a good option.
Yeah.
And so one thing I will bring up, and I just shared it in I shared it in the chat, not on, but there's the link for it. One of the great things about the vast library of resources that Greg and Nick have built and Stephen for Frequent Miler is that it's tough to keep track of the resources we actually have. So we actually have a post called The Beginner's Guide to Booking Partner Award Flights.
And it was only posted a year ago by the looks of
it.
And Nick wrote it, so sorry, Nick, that it was that but we had no clue that it existed.
I've never read the post, but I imagine it's pretty good and would be a good place to start in terms of just how to think about going through.
That is so funny. All right. Yeah. So yeah, the answer to the question, yeah, we do.
Right. I just
last one we started with I don't know and got the answer, and now we started with an answer and got back to yes.
Right. Yeah, I stuck that in the YouTube chat for anyone who wants to find that post. It should be there. Yeah, cool. If there's no more thoughts on that, then I'll move us along. Do you get the elite status benefits when renting a car on Chase Portal with points or cash?
Yeah. You just put in your like National or whoever car rental, and you'll get your benefits. Yeah.
All right, great. That one was easy. When is a good time to convert to the Ritz card? I just had my first anniversary of Bonvoy Boundless and 35K certificate posted on the first anniversary date.
This would have been another good Nick one, because he had like a very specific scenario where, if I'm remembering correctly, he upgraded just before his anniversary date, and he ended up getting both the 35K cert and the 85K, or like 50K or whatever it was back when he did that. And so it does seem to be upgrading within a week or two of when your anniversary date is, if I'm remembering correctly.
Yeah, that's what I think he upgraded. I can't remember, it was either a week before or a week after. And like, that's not necessarily, that could be a thing that isn't supposed to happen, but happens sometimes. We don't necessarily have like hundreds of data points on that. But for Nick, it did happen the last time when he upgraded his wife's card. And I think the official version is that you're supposed to only get the Ritz card on the next anniversary, or the Ritz free night certificate on the next anniversary. So it's good to do it before. But when Nick was able to double dip it, it makes, I would say it's probably worth a shot if you just had your anniversary. And let us know what happens too, if that happens to you as well. It'd be good to have more data points on that.
All right, very good. Someone commented, Tim, that you have a very good Nick impression.
Well, do I really?
We all were practicing our impressions of each other and party time.
Yeah, maybe that should be the next.
Oh, okay. So we need to back up, because apparently steered people wrong. So on Nick's post about this, it says, if you're due to soon receive your next annual 35K free night certificate on your Boundless card, you probably want to wait until after that certificate's issued before changing to the Ritz card. If you change to the Ritz card now, before your next 35K cert, you'll end up missing out on that certificate and waiting a year from today to receive your first Ritz cert. Better to get your 35K cert and then product change. Oh, actually, but this is that might have been written before he actually did that upgrade, and so okay.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, okay.
But I mean, but that's effectively where the questioner is at, because I should say, they already got their 35K cert. So even if they don't get upgraded, or even if they don't get the Ritz cert, they've already had the 35K. So it's probably a good time for them to do it.
All right, very good. So next question, can you talk about the Hyatt Regency Toyko Bay, which we all just saw? Is it a hassle to get into the city, Stephen? This person does not like to hotel hop and is considering it as a base to get to both Tokyo and Toyko Disney.
So getting to the hotel from Haneda wasn't really much of an issue. We took the limousine bus. Well, okay, it was a hassle trying to work out how to actually get the tickets. Like, we were standing at this ticket machine forever. Right. That part of it is completely non-intuitive. But we eventually worked out how to, basically when you're getting the ticket, you have to drill down like 4 levels deep as to which region, and then which general area, and then which smaller general area, and then which specific stop you want to stay at. You can't search for the specific stop that you want to get to, which was a little bit annoying. But on the bus itself, it takes you only like a block away if you get off at, I think it was Mitsui Gardens or something, and then it's like, and so that part of it, getting there from Haneda Airport was perfectly fine. Getting into the city could be pretty pricey. Like, we ended up taking an Uber, and I forget exactly how much that was. I want to say it was something like $50 to $60 or something like that. And so Uber there isn't cheap. I don't know what taxis would have been, but if you're going to be doing Disneyland and stuff like that, that's around the Toyko Bay area, then I can imagine it's perfectly fine. If you're wanting to kind of get actual downtown, then I don't think it's going to be your best option location-wise.
Yep.
Well, and even using the subway system can get pricey also. So
Well, and if I remember correctly, like actually taking subways to any of the main neighborhoods was like over an hour from there, wasn't it? Or like 50 minutes to an hour. Like it was fairly long.
Yeah, especially depending on which part you want to go to. But if you do want to find your way from like where you end up off the plane to our hotel, you can watch our reel and replicate. I have a reel of us. So you can go to our Instagram and watch what we
So I mean, I guess what I'd add as well is that if you're planning on spending most of your time at Disney, then that seems like it would probably be a good base. If you're only going to be going into Tokyo like once or twice, then it's probably not bad. If you're going to be spending more time in Tokyo but only doing Tokyo Disney one day, it's probably not worth doing that.
Yep.
But it was a perfectly nice hotel to stay at, if that sways anything. So
yeah. Yep. And it's hard to pick one area that's going to get you close to everything. Although, am I pronouncing this right? The Shinjuku area, is that the one that I kept talking about, Stephen? Do you remember?
I think so. That does ring a bell.
So that's kind of the trendier part of town, which would put you close to a lot of the other like standard sites you might be used to seeing people share on social media and stuff, but then gets you very far from Disney. So I kind of think it's a bit of a one or the other.
And I think it's just to re-emphasize Stephen's point. I think that's like Tokyo is a massive city. It's a massive city. I don't know if they have been here before, the questioner. But if I were going to try to explore Tokyo for several days and spend a couple days at Tokyo Disney, I would absolutely hotel hop, because the Toyko Bay Hyatt is terrific. It's right. I mean, it's right by Tokyo Disney, and to Carrie's point, there's a Hyatt Regency in Shinjuku that's very centrally located and is a great walkable neighborhood for food and stuff, and then you can get around the rest of town very easily. But to try and do it, I would emphasize Stephen's point that if you're trying to see Tokyo multiple days from the Tokyo Bay Hyatt Regency, I don't know. That feels like you're setting yourself up for a lot of train rides.
Although if you're out there, you might as well go to Team Labs, which we all loved, and is in that same area. And also the kind of famous fish market is there too, in that area. Toyosu, I'm misremembering the name maybe. And they do some, fish market tours and stuff like that. So there are some things you can see out there, but it's not going to be the main things. All right, I'm going to shuffle us along. Which cards do you recommend churning?
You're going to pick people?
What churning is?
Stephen, please explain what churning is and which cards you should churn.
Churning is basically like applying for cards and then getting cards again, and trying to get as many cards as possible in order to earn the bonuses on welcome offers, because that's kind of like one easiest way to earn a significant number of miles and points. I mean, I guess to an extent, maybe American Airlines has been like a bit more of a focus for me, just like, especially now having experienced Q suites with Qatar Airways, then that's a fantastic way to book it. And because American Airlines aren't transfer partners with anyone, then it can be hard to pick up their miles other than through credit cards and things like the American Airlines shopping portal. So churning some of their cards so that you can get as many Q Suites flights as possible is one option. And you can book Q Suites through other avenues, but that seems to be kind of one of the best ways to be able to do it. So that's what I'd say as one suggestion.
Anything to add from anybody else?
I'll just add, a couple of things. On the city side with American Airlines, I believe they have the 48-month rule now. So if you want to get the same card again, it has to be 48 months after you got the bonus before, I think. So it doesn't make the city cards very churnable. Maybe the Barclays cards are better that way. I think one of the easiest ones to churn right now and get a lot of points is the business platinum card, because as long as you have a business platinum card, you're likely to keep getting offers for get another one for the same business and get 150,000 points. So if you could meet the big spend requirements, then you can get it seems like you can keep getting business platinum cards as long as you can keep meeting the spend requirements. And so it's kind of amazing right now as far as that goes.
Yeah.
All
And
right.
if you're below 524 as well, then some of the ink cards, like getting those again and again, like some people have like pretty good luck being able to get multiple versions of those. And so that's another potentially good option.
Yep.
Great. So I'll give this question to Tim. So far, I've only been getting consumer cards, mainly for welcome bonuses. Should I be getting business cards in parallel? What am I missing out by not doing that?
So should you be getting business cards in parallel? As long as you're comfortable with that, yes, you absolutely should. And the requirements, as you know, there's sort of a standard kind of spiel about, well, everybody has, you might have a business and you don't realize it, but really, you don't have to have you can apply for it using your own a business card with your own social security number as what's called a sole proprietorship. You don't have to have any income for your business to get a business card. You don't have to necessarily, you could be planning to do business and call that a sole proprietorship and get a business card with that. And once you have a business card, like say with like Greg was talking about with Amex, you will just automatically start, to get approved for more business cards will be very easy. So in terms of what you're missing out, there's two main things. One is sign-up bonuses, because you have a whole new track of sign-up bonuses. And right now, some of the best sign-up bonuses around are business cards. And then the flip side of it is, and Steven just mentioned it, Chase has a rule called 524, which means that they, with some exceptions occasionally, traditionally, usually don't approve people for new Chase cards if they've had 5 new cards open within the last 24 months. But that doesn't count most business cards. So you can open up a lot of new cards, get new sign-up bonuses, and still stay under 524 for when there are Chase cards that you want to open. And like, so for instance, for my wife and I, we probably, I'm guessing we probably get maybe 8 to 12 cards a year, new cards a year. And these days, probably 75% of them are business cards, if not more. And that's partially because of how great Amex has been. Amex has just been doing wonderful things for us with their business cards. And also just because it's, and because of that very reason, to try to keep our 524 status at a reasonable level for when things like the business preferred offer, the 100,000 point offer for $8,000 spend that just came out, we're able to do that, you know.
All right. Anything else to add from Stephen or Greg?
Nope.
Okie doke. This next one is for Greg. Best airline to stash your miles under each alliance program.
Sure. Okay. So SkyTeam, that's easy. Air France. For Star Alliance, I would do Air Canada Aeroplan. They're not necessarily the cheapest awards, but they also have a lot of partners beyond just Star Alliance. So they're a good place to stash your miles, and your miles won't expire as long as you have any kind of activity. Or do they expire at all with Air Canada anymore? I can't remember. But anyway, with One World, I would say American Airlines, except that I assume this question, the basis behind this question is the idea of like, you're going to transfer from a transferable points currency and want to, maybe close your cards or something. So you want to transfer out of the transferable points. And since so few of them transfer to American Airlines, just Bilt does. If you're looking for what else would be a good One World, in the past I might have said Cathay Pacific, but I'm going to go with Avios, British Airways or whatever, because you can move the points around to Qatar and Iberia and Aer Lingus, and so there's a lot of different uses and things for Avios, and they don't have as many restrictions. I ran into a big problem with Cathay where I wanted to book a bunch of people on a ticket and found you have to have nominees added to your account, and they only allow so many. And if you want to swap out nominees, you got to pay extra money to Cathay and stuff. And so they lost their place in my heart for the One World type of thing.
Their stash status.
Yeah. They've lost stash status points.
Oh no, they didn't give Greg lunch. No.
That's what you learned about me, right?
Yeah, I know. That's been my thing. It's like lunch is very, very important. But so just out of curiosity, because you went by Air France kind of quickly, or Flying Blue, what would make Flying Blue the reason? Why would that be your SkyTeam stash? Why does that get all the SkyTeam stash points?
Oh, well, there's just not there. First of all, there's not many options in SkyTeam that are any good. And so, I mean, Air France has a decent award pricing. I mean, it's kind of variable, but it's often decent. And as long as you don't do something crazy like attribute actual flying to earning Air France miles, then the miles, if you do that, miles will expire. As long as you don't do that, your miles won't expire, because you can keep just transferring in a few more points or using some miles, and they'll extend that way. So I don't know. It's just a good general purpose program, I think, on the SkyTeam side. And I can't think of any other program I could say that about.
All right, great. Anything to add from Tim or Stephen? All right, this one is for Stephen. Which hotel chain is best to use points-wise during busy times? I have found during holiday/summer, it has been impossible to redeem IHG points, and at times even Marriott. I have paused hotel credit card applications. So what do you think?
I mean, if you're not going to do Marriott or IHG, then like Hyatt seems to be the kind of more obvious choice, primarily because if you're trying to redeem during holiday and busy times, they don't have dynamic award pricing. And so they do have off-peak, standard, and peak pricing. And so you might still be charged at peak pricing rates, but you're not going to be charged exorbitant numbers of points for the most part, like you could be with Hilton and IHG and Marriott. And so that would probably be your best option, especially if you're wanting any kind of, I guess, like quality stay, because another option would be Wyndham, because they only have 3 tiers as well. But for the most part, Wyndham properties aren't necessarily going to be where I would want to be spending my summer if I was getting a couple of weeks vacation each year. So that's my thoughts.
All right. Anything else to add from Greg and Tim?
I would just add that I think diversifying your point collection is a good idea, because you might not find IHG in one place and you might not find Marriott in another place, but you might find one or the other, or Hyatt or Hilton. And so you need to check like all of them. And if you have points in all of them, and you're much more likely to have success that way.
Yep.
Good tip. All right. This one is for Tim. My husband and I can't refer for Amex membership rewards cards anymore. I know about the temporary lost card workaround, but that sounds like something Amex could claw back. Is there another way to eventually get out? And maybe explain what this person is talking about a little bit.
Yeah, so MR earning cards are membership rewards earning cards. So those are the cards that earn membership rewards, transferable American Express's transferable currency, which is membership rewards. So platinum, gold, everyday, business platinum, those sorts of things. And there is and nobody knows exactly what causes it, but there is a kind of a phenomenon that's going around right now that both my wife and I have, where you can no longer refer, it doesn't give you the option to refer other people using your personal card links. And there's a workaround, a quote unquote workaround, where people found that if they effectively told Amex that their card was lost and ordered a new card, once they activated that new card, they would get the ability to refer from that card back. The problem is, what we've now found out is that lasts for a very, very brief period of time. In some cases, as little as 5 to 6 days, people lose their ability to refer again. And so it's something that you can do. And there is currently a wave of Amex clawbacks going around that are related to primarily, it seems like, gold purchases. But I don't know that they're actually related to that, to people reporting their cards as lost. Some people, it seems like it's happened to people that lost their cards and people that didn't. But in terms of how to get around that outside of using that brief loophole, bring back the earlier point, apply for business cards. Both my wife and I cannot refer from our personal membership rewards earning cards, but we can refer from all of our business cards. That's never gone away. And thus far, I don't know, and maybe if somebody else is, I haven't seen somebody lose their referral capacity from business cards. So it's a good reason to venture into Amex business cards. And the other thing that thus far, and this is when, somebody tell me if you've heard this as well. I haven't heard of anybody losing their ability to refer from the Schwab and Stanley cards.
Okay.
Have you guys? But the bonuses are never good because they just give cash. But I know that we can still refer from our Schwab cards, but I never do because it's so paltry compared to what you get referring from any other cards. It's like $100 cash bonus. But so theoretically, you could go, if that's correct, and I think it is, but I'm not entirely certain. Then you could try, and you don't want to go into business cards. You could do some of the co-branded cards at the financial institutions. However, I would just say start getting business cards, and you should be able to refer from those, including household referrals, which it sounds like is what you guys are doing.
Something that I'm not sure about is whether or not, if you cancel your existing personal membership rewards earning cards and apply for them brand new, whether or not you regain that referral capacity back. You likely wouldn't get the bonuses again or anything like that, but if you're just keeping the cards anyway, then it's not like you're getting referral bonuses anyway, and so it's not like you're kind of losing out in that respect. But I don't know if that kind of resets your ability to be able to do that, but that could be something that's worth exploring if you want to do that. But the only danger then is that Amex, for whatever reason, might not approve you for that new card. So if it's one that you particularly value having, like maybe the Amex Gold card or something like that, I guess there's a small risk that they wouldn't accept you like back for that card. But I think with Amex you can reopen. Can you reopen an Amex card after you've cancelled it within a certain amount of time?
In a certain amount of time. I'm not sure what that time. I think it's 30 days or 60 days.
Okay. So yeah, if you apply fairly quickly for the card again and find that you can't do that, then you should be able to reopen the closed card and not have any kind of detrimental impact in that respect. So that's another avenue to potentially try if you aren't going to do the business card route.
And just to piggyback on that a little bit, since we lost the ability to refer on our personal cards, we've opened one Amex personal card because there's just been so few reasons to open Amex personal cards with all the business largesse that they've been giving us over the years, last 12 months. And we did lose our ability to refer on that fairly quickly. But when we first got it and activated it, we were able to refer off of that. So, and that's just my one data point. I don't know what that would be like for other folks. And the other thing to be is that if Stephen, based on Stephen, that would be a good thing to try. Don't cancel a bunch of cards at once though, because then you could possibly end up in what we call pop-up prison, where Amex won't approve you for welcome bonuses on any new cards, and that would be even worse than not being able to refer. So, but canceling one card at a time shouldn't affect that.
Yeah. So one other way around this is it's not going to be for everyone, but what you could do. So you could have a child, name them the same as you, wait 18 years, apply under their SSN, get new cards in your name, and you should be able to refer from those.
I think that's,
and if anybody has ever met Greg's kids, Greg, you'll know that it can be a very fruitful.
George Foreman had it right. He knew what he was doing.
It's kind of a long game there, Greg.
Yeah, it's
about that. All right, so Greg, this question is for you. How quickly can one safely open new cards with Chase? I have a few large expenses that will allow me to meet multiple sign-up bonuses, but I'm concerned about shutdowns.
I don't know. I don't really have any knowledge of like how many is too many with Chase. Do any of you guys have like? Any
think you can get
recommendations?
2 new cards every 30 days. But beyond that, I'm not aware. Because overall with Chase, I think it's more a case of they have kind of an overall limit that they're willing to extend to you. And so that's more likely a barrier that you're going to be bumping up across rather than necessarily the number of cards that you have.
Is the poster asking, are they just asking what the velocity limits are?
I took it as being afraid that if they
impression
open
that I
too
get.
many, they might get shut down or
okay.
something like that.
Well, here's a related question. Let me see if it's the same person. No, but this person has a similar question. What's your opinion about opening 2 cards on the same day? Let's address that one.
I do that frequently.
Yep. And sometimes that can be beneficial if it's with the same bank or something like that. So with like Barclays, I think they combine the hard pool into one or something like that if you apply the same day. So yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it could be a good idea, in other words. But
it's also generally, if you're going to do something like that, generally better to apply for the card that you want most first, just in case the first inquiry impacts on your ability to be able to get the second one through.
All right, good tip. Let's see, where are we at? I think, Stephen, what's your favorite use of thank you points where you can find availability?
I guess if we send this to someone else, because at the moment I don't actually have a Premier or Prestige card, and so I don't transfer any thank you points right now. And so I'm sure that I have a feeling I know what Greg's going to answer, but I'm curious what he would say.
Well,
Greg, what are you going to say?
I mean, Stephen knows what I would say, which is if you have the Premier or Prestige card, then you could transfer 1 to 2 to Choice. And then I would book any of the sweet spots with Choice, which a lot of them, for example, are in the Nordic countries. There's what used to be called Nordic Choice hotels, which is now Strawberry hotels, something like that. You could get fantastic value that way.
Yep.
Cool.
There's also, I really like programs that I've been using a lot the last couple of years and I'm assuming this is both airfare and airlines and hotels, but are Avianca Life Miles and Turkish Miles and Smiles. Both of them have some really great sweet spots and city transfers, both of them, and both of them, for the most part, I've been having really good luck the last couple of years of getting a fair amount of availability for as well.
Yeah, and I'm going to add one more, which I've never actually done, but I've kept in my pocket in case, which is Eva Air again. They transfer 1-to-1 to Eva Air, and Eva Air will open more award space to their own customers. So it can be a really good way to get business class, for example, on them.
All right, very good. Let's see, where did we leave off? I think Tim, but this is for everybody, but we'll start with Tim. How are all of you feeling about the IHG program now that it's been a year since the refresh? I'm finding a lot of value and have it ranked above Marriott and Hilton now. How about you guys? Starting with Tim.
I think it's great so far. I think, and what's especially to me, what's amazing is they continue to sell their points regularly at half a cent each, and I rarely redeem points in IHG for under 0.8 of a cent to a cent. I mean, to me, the points have retained a lot of value. I actually had a post earlier this year, I think, about where went to over 3 or 4 months. I went to 5 different properties that were for 5 different brands, 5 different IHG brands, to test out their new diamond benefits, which is that's one of the big things they refreshed. And there was some uneven results on some of it, but overall, I think they've been good at trying to get everybody on board with providing the benefits, the diamond benefits, and they're good. And the cool thing about IHG Diamond is that once you get it, you can extend it every year just by buying what's called the ambassador membership, IHG ambassador membership, which costs $200 or 40,000 points. So you can maintain that status if you're using it without having to necessarily earn it organically. And thus far, it's been a reliable option that you can continue to do every year. And I find myself staying in more IHGs now. So I would say overall up. It's not perfect by any means, and I would still take Hyatt in a heartbeat, but I would agree that I think it beats Marriott for consistency and probably Hilton for actual benefits for elite folks. And I would say probably value as well in terms of what you can do with those points versus what you can do with Hilton. The downside is that it doesn't have near the aspirational properties that either of those programs have.
Anyone disagree?
No, it gets 2 thumbs up for me. So yeah, like we earned or I earned diamond status organically last year just because we stayed with them so much, and most of those were point stays just because we got so much value. And then this year I'm on course to retain diamond status again, which is like 70 nights, again just because we've had a few paid stays with them this year, but just so much good value when it comes to award bookings, especially if you're flexible with your stays. Because I've got the IHG Premier card where I can get every 4th night free, and then I've got the old IHG Select card as well for a 10% points rebate, and so that makes it particularly great value. So if you can stay in chunks of 4 nights at a time, that can make a huge difference if you've got a Premier or Traveler card.
Yeah, good tip. Do we have time for one more question? I don't know if this is going to be a long one or not, but we'll go for it.
Yeah, we got 5 minutes to go.
Let's start with Greg on this one. Somebody said they remember from a live stream us mentioning that we don't do travel insurance. What about travel medical insurance? They want to know.
I mean, I've never bought travel medical insurance either. I understand that some people are in situations where they might feel like they need to, and I think that makes sense. But I don't have any personal experience doing it, so I can't give any recommendations.
So,
so you don't do it. To answer your question, where you don't do travel medical insurance.
Do any of you?
Have done in the past. So back when we lived in the UK, most of our travel was back to the US because we would come back like once or twice a year to see my wife, family, and friends. And then we would buy travel medical insurance just because the cost of treatment over here is so expensive, and the travel insurance just wasn't all that expensive, and so it also covered us for like flight delays and lost baggage and stuff like that. We never ended up having to claim on the medical side of things, but having the travel insurance was handy just because we did have some lost bags a couple of times, and so that assisted us then. But nowadays, generally don't end up getting it. Although when we had a trip around the Middle East a couple of year or two ago, I can't remember which country it was. I think it might have been Egypt, but maybe it was Jordan. One of them had required medical insurance, and so we did end up getting travel insurance for that trip for the entire span of that, just because it was required. But generally, like medical costs overseas aren't anywhere near as high as they are in the US. And so even though it could end up becoming a costly thing if something terrible happened, it's generally not going to be anywhere near as costly as it would be if that terrible thing happened while you're in the US.
Yeah, and that's that was the exact point I was going to make. I'm assuming that this questioner is US based and talking about traveling outside. If they aren't, and they're talking about traveling to the US, if I was traveling to the US, I would absolutely get travel medical insurance because of exactly what Steven said. It's so expensive out of pocket. And then the flip side, I've actually, not only have I wrecked a car on most had to wrecked a car on most continents, I've actually been to either a clinic or a hospital in almost every continent now. And it's the cost of out-of-pocket treatment is less than what I would pay for my deductible or not for my deductible, for my copay on an office visit here. I mean, it's so much cheaper overseas. It just can't be overstated. And so I think that's, and I think that's what, from the US, we often think about it from our own paradigm, because we're so used to medical care being so expensive. And then also added to that, many credit cards will do emergency evacuation insurance if you purchase or if you end up needing to be evacuated back to the US for treatment. So that is the check to make sure that what you're doing, you may have that kind of worst case scenario insurance already because of the credit card that you're using.
Yeah, and Chase Sapphire Reserve and the Ritz also include a little bit of medical if you book your travel with them. So I can't remember. I think it's $2,500.
Oh, is it 25? Yeah.
And then one other small thing I'd like to say as well is it also depends on how much you're traveling overseas. Because if I was because my wife and I aren't doing a huge amount of overseas travel at the moment because we were on our 50-state road trip, we don't tend to get insurance when we do go overseas because it's only for kind of like, for the most part, it's only for like a week or two at a time, although sometimes it's longer. If we were traveling around the world a lot more and spending like say several months out of the country each year, I'd be inclined to get an annual trip policy that covers you for the entire year, because then because I ended up having to get one for my wife like work related, and that ended up costing, I want to say like $160 or something like that, but that covers her for the entire year all around the world for travel. And so like that's based on, like that's calculated based on your age and things like that. But that's certainly something that's worth looking into as well, because that can end up being a worthwhile investment for such a relative little amount of money for kind of what it covers you for such a long time.
Cool. That ended up being pretty interesting. All right. I think that brings us to the end, more or less.
All right. It's sad to see the end, but it's great seeing everybody. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next month, same time, same channel. Bye all.